This is the first of 3 videos about the Star Fortress blocks. In this first video, I'm going to give a quick introduction to the blocks, how these blocks are made, and what scales these blocks can be used for. The second video in this series will give you strategies on how to use the blocks, and will give you several examples of how to put the blocks together to make unique items that you want for your tabletop. The third video will give you painting instructions and show you how to paint these using house paint. This is an introduction to the Star Fortress molds. The pieces you see here are scaled 1 to 285, also known as 6mm scale. These pieces are usually used for games such as Battletech, Epic 40K, CAV, Mech Warrior, Ogre, and other futuristic battle games where mechs are used. The mechs that you see here are from Reaper Miniatures' CAV line. Now, all of the detailed buildings and guns on the table are made from 4 different molds. These molds are number 312, number 313, number 314, and the floor tile mold number 275. Each of these 4 molds needs to be cast 12 times in order to build all of the detailed stuff that you see on the table here. Now, the surrounding city walls are made from 2 different molds. If you like the walls and want them, it's basically these 2 molds right here. It's mold number 315 and mold number 14. If each of these molds are cast 12 times, you will have enough castings to build the entire wall that you see going across the front here. Now, many of you may not understand how this project is done, so let me briefly explain. These molds are used to cast building blocks, and the building blocks are used to make all of the terrain shown here. If you go to my website at hirstarts.com or castlemolds.com, go down to the instructions section and click on casting instructions. This page will have instructions and videos on how to pour dental stone, which is a very hard type of plaster, into the molds so that you can pop out building blocks. These building blocks are used to build all of the terrain that you see. Now scroll back to the top of the page and choose the page that says Casting Using Dental Stone. This page will give you information about using dental stone, how much it costs, and where you can buy it. Since we're already on the website, let me show you where you can find these molds. So go back to the main web page. Then go on to the Molds Available page. Now on the left you'll see a sort by number. And the molds we want to start with, mold number 312, so we'll choose the bottom category, which starts at mold number 300. So when this page comes up, scroll down to mold number 312. That's the first one of the Star Fortress molds that we have, because we've got mold number 312, number 313, 314, and 315. And if you scroll further down, you'll find mold number 415, which is for the walls. But we're going to concentrate on mold number 312 here. Now, the color photo on the right will take you to the building instructions, which show you how to make every item that was shown here block by block. And on the left, you will see a black and white illustration and the blocks on the mold that this will make. Now, pick this illustration and it will bring up a PDF file showing a photograph of all the blocks that you can cast from this mold. Now, once you print this sheet out, these blocks are shown actual size. They're printed on the page as if you actually had took the actual block and had them sitting in front of you. So the size is exactly the same. This will give you some idea if the size and scale is going to work for what you want. So for example, I can set these to the side and I can take a Battletech miniature that we have and we can compare it to the top of the blocks and we can compare it to the side view of the blocks and see if it's something that we want. And you can also look at the design to see if the design is a style that you like. Now let me try to give you some idea of the scale of the blocks. This is a Battletech mech. I think this one's called a Griffin. And basically each block is about 3/4 of an inch high. So a 2-story building would be about 1.5 inches. So you can see on the ruler that 1.5 inches tall, and if you have 3 blocks high, it's another 3/4 on top of that, which would be about 2.25 inches. But basically, 2 blocks high is enough to completely block line of sight for this size of mech. And you can kind of see the door details and the others. So if we have some other elements from this particular scale, like this right here is an automobile from the 1 to 285 scale, or 6mm scale, and this right here would be a person. Now this is kind of hard to get in here because that's the size of what a regular person would be compared to the doorway. So the person is around a 1/4 inch tall, or 6 millimeters tall. Now another way to get an idea of the scale of this here is an American quarter. That's 25 cents. This right here is €1. And this one right here is a 100 yen coin, if we have any Japanese folks watching the video. But anyway, they're all about the same size. So you can kind of compare that currency to kind of get an idea of how tall. So pretty much, I think €1 is pretty darn close to 1 story high. Now I also wanted to show you a comparison using miniatures of other scale, because the mech hanger that I have that'll hold 2 mechs, this is a Battletech figure shown inside the mech hanger. This is one of the Reaper CAV models inside of the mech hanger. But interestingly enough, this is a 28 millimeter Star Wars figure. So surprisingly, it doesn't really look that out of place. In other words, this could be the engine room, or it could be something else inside of the spaceship. And it works for several of the other models that we have on here. Now here's an example of a CAV mech, and you can see the large turret gun on the front and the very large dish, and you can kind of compare the scale there. You can actually look and see the small walkway where your little figure would walk. But interestingly enough, if you put a Star Wars figures next to it, it really doesn't look that out of place. It just looks like a smaller dish that's kind of defended by a small gun. And the missile launchers back here, really the size doesn't seem to be that out of place either. So I could almost compare this as a small comm station for some sort of Star Wars game, or you could also use it for your very large mech. And I think it works pretty well for both.